Oh, hello, my lovely peaches. How are you? Welcome and welcome back. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Let me move this over here. Hello, my lovely peaches. How are you? It's 2 a.m. Welcome and welcome back. So I should be going to sleep right now, and I won't be posting this until later today, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe not. I don't know. I've been wanting to make a video talking about Alec Baldwin's trial dismissed with prejudice, and like the mind exploding unraveling of the corrupt Kari, the prosecutor. And I feel so vindicated. When I was watching the Hannah Reid trial, I was one of just like a 5%, a 2% of people who thought not that she wasn't guilty of being careless and not paying attention to what bullets she was putting in the gun, but that it was such chaos, and the people who were supposed to be listening to her weren't listening to her, and she didn't have the authority that she was supposed to have. And Seth Kinney and Sarah Zachary and the weirdness about what they were doing. And I just felt like, how is it all on her? But then at the same time, when Judge Summers, when she got guilty, and then Judge Summers sentenced her to a year and a half, but then it came out that there were these jail calls that Hannah was saying, like the most ridiculous stuff, like, well, accidents happen and big deal. Like, oh, okay, girl, maybe you do need to spend a year and a half in jail. Anyway, now we find out that it's a possibility that maybe Hannah didn't supply those bullets after all. And with all the freaking help that Seth Kinney was giving, it was giving, you're the freaking source, and you're doing everything you can to shift blame to Hannah, who you were supposed to be the boss of and in charge of. So how the fuck is it her fault? I absolutely detested investigating officer Hancock from Hannah's trial. I thought, bad vibes, you're evil, I can't stand you, something's wrong, something's off. Why are you having 10 meetings and 50 voice text messages, like whatever it was, but between her and Seth Kinney felt so icky and wrong. Like, yuck. I hated her attitude, I hated her face. I was like, I cannot stand this bee. I absolutely despised Kari Morrissey from the Hannah Reid trial. I thought, this bitch is the most arrogant. She's so full of herself. She's condescending. Damn, I thought I saw somebody standing there. It's just the freaking dark. It's the darkness in the... It's 2 a.m. My kids are sleeping. Oh my God, I was just like, this... She's evil. Like, she is so evil. Like, it's one thing to want to prosecute somebody because you know that they did something wrong, a crime, you know, like Wendy Adelson. I want to see prosecutor Georgia Cappleman grind that bitch and give her the maximum life without parole, okay? Because I believe that she planned and paid to have her ex-husband murdered. And so justice needs to be served, because this bitch is walking free, raising the children of the man that she killed, in my opinion, of Wendy Adelson. I believe justice was served for Alec Baldwin. And for Helena Hutchins, putting Alec Baldwin in jail is not going to right the wrong that happened. And it was justice when a prosecutor and an investigating officer and the crime scene tech, stop calling me an investigator, popple. Y'all need to topple, because Kari Morrissey, I.O. Hancock, and Marissa Popple, the CST, don't call me investigator, they need to get fired. Kari can't get fired because she has her own company, she has her own law firm, she's a defense attorney, so she needs to get disbarred. You need to get disbarred because you intentionally suppressed evidence because it didn't fit in the narrative that you wanted to teach this man a lesson. Alec Baldwin, who she called a cocksucker, and said some other thing she called him. It's like, wow. And I was like, what? I'm usually pretty insightful. I mean, yes, I make mistakes. But my neighbors just made a loud noise, and I'm wondering, am I being really loud, or 2 a.m.? I make mistakes, okay, obviously, but I was like, how can I be that wrong? But again, then at the same time, it was like, but everybody's saying it was her job, she was the armorer, that part was true, and I didn't even feel like I didn't feel that she was not guilty, but I felt like it just feels wrong to put it all on her. It didn't feel right that the guy who was her boss, or was he her boss? What was he I don't remember what his title was. David Hall's. He didn't check the gun that well, but the fact is that, so what came out in Baldwin's trial was that Troy Teskey, who was a former cop and a judge, even though it was like, somebody was like, it was just 6 months temporary justice of the peace. So what? He still was in that role. That means that he's an intelligent guy. He knows the law, and he was capable of doing the role. So, a former cop, justice of the peace, this is somebody you should take him seriously. He's walking into your office. He's walking into your sheriff's office saying, I have evidence. These bullets, these are the bullets you're looking for. These bullets match the bullets that were in the rust. And then there were 3 bullets that apparently looked similar to the bullets that unfortunately, tragically took the life of Helena Hutchins, which Alec Baldwin could have never known that there was a bullet there. And that after all, it very well may have been this batch of bullets that Seth had provided that had the bullets that were live rounds that looked a hell of a lot like the not live rounds, the blanks. And that when Troy Teskey came into the courthouse during Hannah's trial to hand over this evidence, I.O. Hancock didn't come out. I.O. investigating officer didn't come out, and so he left and he went to the sheriff's office, and then there was body cam footage of him saying, I have this evidence and these bullets are from the same batch, and he was saying all the people's names. It was like obvious he knew what he was talking about. He wasn't some rando off the street giving rando stuff that had nothing to do with it. But yeah, they decided collectively, the 3 of them decided, with that other officer who had the body cam footage, I don't know, maybe he didn't know about it, they decided to give it a separate case number that was not connected to Rust and not to reference it to Rust. So it got hidden and lost and nobody could ever see it. And Kari Morrissey, hopefully soon former lawyer, put herself on the stand as a witness in the most bizarre, it's like, did she forget, like, did she think she was in a movie? It's like, it makes no sense. It seems like she had a personal vendetta against this man, and it was like, wow, how could you watch something like that unfold? That's not scripted. It's bizarre. And I started watching the trial. And I was going to do like a video update saying, I am 100% biased. I am 100% biased against this prosecutor, Kari Morrissey. I despise this woman. I think she's evil. I think she's out to get him. I even though I know for a fact that he pulled the trigger and that killed Helena, I also believe he 100% had no reason to believe, nor could he have believed or known that there was a real bullet in there. So yeah, he was acting like this, but if there was a blank, she wouldn't have died. How do I know that? Because in all of the years of TV history and movie history and all this stuff with people using guns, there's 2 deaths that everybody knows about who knows about those things. Brandon Lee died on the set of Crow, not even from a bullet. It was wadding, literal wadding. And yes, that was a bizarre thing. And how do we know? Because you would be hearing about it. There wouldn't be 2 times going back how many, 50 years? People die on movie sets. I heard somebody else saying it, but they're like stuntmen and stuff, not people getting shot. And then John Eric Hexum was this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful man. And the horrific, ridiculous, senseless tragedy was that he was on a set with a gun and he spun it and went to pretend to do Russian roulette. And I don't know if it was wadding or something that was in there, or if it was a blank that, because it was so close, it killed him. He played Russian roulette and he killed himself by accident. And those 2 horrific tragedies, and now Helena Hutchins. But Helena Hutchins was an actual live bullet that ended up on the set of Rust. And maybe we could try to blame Alec Baldwin because he was the producer, but yet he was not the armorer. He was not the ammunition and props person. Yes, we could say, well, you should have hired better people. He literally hired like Thel Reed and I don't know. Well, it was Seth Kenny who's like, these were top-notch people in the industry. And maybe Hannah Gutierrez Reed didn't have the experience herself, but she was supposed to be being overseen by professional people. So ultimately, I believe that Seth Kinney is the reason why there was a live bullet. Why do I think that? Because of how helpful he was being. He was being so coochie crunchy helpful with these people. And it's like, why did they believe? How did they not investigate and be like, this guy is being really, 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 really helpful? And the fact is that he could really, 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 really be the reason why there was a live bullet. So how did these investigators not make the connection that, like, here's a guy being really, really, really helpful, pointing us in the direction of Hannah, when he could actually be the one, but he wants to point it to Thel Reed and to Hannah. No, it's not his fault. Then Troy Teskey comes in saying, me and Seth are friends. And Thel Reed, we're friends. We're all friends. We're all coochie crunchy up in here with all these ammunition. Here, I don't want to have this. You need to have this. This is related to the Rust case. These are bullets from the same batch. And they hid them and said, it's not relevant. It's not relevant. And how was it relevant? It was relevant because it showed that the investigation was shoddy, and it showed that there could have been another source for the bullets. And yes, ultimately, Alec Baldwin was the one who pulled the trigger, but if he had no clue, which he had no clue, he couldn't have had a clue. How would he ever have a clue? And you know what? You cannot say, well, even if it was a blank, she would have died. No, you can't make that. You can't jump the shark like that. You cannot. So I truly believe Alec Baldwin needs to be not guilty, because this is an unjust situation. He may be a jerk. He may not be cool. People might despise him because he left a fucking rude, disgusting voicemail for his daughter, Ireland. Let's see, I looked it up the other day. I think she's like 28 years old. So she was 13 years old. He's going through a contentious divorce or whatever it is. They're already divorced. And he leaves this voicemail calling her like a fucking selfish pig or something when she was like 13 years old. I have a fucking 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. So I kind of think I can understand him. Yeah, it was a rude, disgusting thing to say. But hello, that was so freaking long ago, and she was going to be in the movie. She was at the trial. So obviously she didn't fucking hate him forever. They're still having a good relationship. So, or whatever. Maybe he still calls her a fucking pig. But maybe you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and listening to somebody's private upset voicemail and then like deciding that you know everything about them. And maybe he's an arrogant prick. But again, being an arrogant prick is not a reason to send somebody to jail for a horrible, tragic accident that they had no intention. Like, he had no intention. He never in a million years would have done that. Like, it's just, and the fact that this prosecutor and this investigating officer and this crime scene tech and the sheriff's office hid this intentionally suppressed evidence, which is called a Brady violation, which is a case from 1963, I learned. And essentially, it is protecting everybody from prosecutors and investigating officers and crime scene technicians from suppressing evidence that might be in the defendant's favor, only deciding what evidence they want to put forth, them deciding this evidence is not relevant. We don't need to let the defense have it. We don't need to disclose it. That's what happened. The prosecutor, she's a special prosecutor, which means she's not even really normally a prosecutor. She doesn't work for the state's office. Kari Morrissey is a lawyer. She's a defense attorney. She has her own private practice, but she was hired as a special prosecutor to prosecute Hannah Gutierrez Reed and Alec Baldwin, but yet she's fucking corrupt and she has a vendetta against them. So that's why the case got yeeted, and hopefully she'll get fucking yeeted, and she should never practice again. Hopefully, never. Then Erlinda Johnson, who was the co-counsel prosecutor, she freaking yeeted herself in the middle of the motion to dismiss when she realized, she said she talked on Chris Cuomo's News Nation interview, and she said she learned like the day before when defense attorney Alex Spiro said there's suppressed evidence, and he knew all about it. Maybe he spoke to Troy Teske. Maybe he spoke to Bowles, who was Hannah's lawyer. Oh, yeah. And then investigating officer Hancock was called up as a witness and was asked some questions by the judge, by Spiro, by Kari Morrissey. And it came out that she claimed, I called him. I tried to call Troy Teske back. I called him a couple times. And then I called him a couple more times. He never called me back. But then Spiro pointed out, well, we have Troy Teske's phone records. He never had a phone call from the cell phone number that you used for all your everything else on this case. He never got a missed call, nor a voicemail, nor a text message from that number. She tried to deny it. Oh, he never got a call from your office number. She's like, well, that's the main number. Okay, well, he never got any phone call from any number from the sheriff's office, nor from your personal cell phone, nor from anyone on that matter. He gave us his phone records and showed us the evidence, the lack of evidence. Oh, I don't know. So she didn't try to call. They never tried to call him back. And he said he was going back to Arizona. So he tried to drop the stuff off at the courthouse during the trial, and she never came to get it. So he then went on his own volition to the sheriff's office to say, hey, I have something here, and I have to head back to Arizona where I live. And I don't feel comfortable having this, because this is evidence in a freaking murder case. Manslaughter case. This is evidence. And y'all should have it. I tried to give it to Bowles, to the defense attorney. He didn't want it. That fucking defense attorney was not that good, in my opinion. He was like half asleep half the time, looking at his cell phone to try to come up with, like, when they were like, when Judge Summers was like, take her away, and he was like, can we get, nope. Like, wow, this dude, he was so incompetent. I mean, maybe he wasn't incompetent, but he was certainly not advocating. He was not that passionate. He was just like, okay, dokes. Bye, Hannah. See you in 18 months. I mean, my God. And I knew Alec Baldwin was going to have a top-notch fucking killer defense team. Yes, he did. But I had no idea that it was going to be, I mean, he had a killer defense team. I knew that they were going to get him off. I had no idea. Like, this is why I'm like, I feel so vindicated, because I knew that those people were evil. I knew that they were shady and corrupt. I knew something was wrong. And I just feel so, like, validated. Like, I was right. After all, you can go back and look at my videos, because I left them up, in defense of Hannah Reid, and all the things that I said about how, well, you know, yes, she didn't do what she was supposed to do, but they had her split. They were only giving her part-time work. They didn't give her any fucking help. The girl who was supposed to be helping her didn't know what the fuck she was doing and had 2 misfires or something. Like, what? This is the girl who's supposed to be helping you? And it seemed like Seth Keeney was trying to fuck her or whatever. It was just like, this is so creepy and weird. And it was so obvious to me that Hannah absolutely did not have any of the authority that she was supposed to have. And people were not listening to her. She was literally being told no. The fact that she just had a few days of work. Like, how are you supposed to be this powerful person and you can't even, like, decide how much time you need to do your job? They are telling you, we only budgeted you for this tiny little amount of days, and you are on our schedule. You are an employee. That's what they even said. She was not a supervisor. She had no power. She was a little lowly part-time employee. But then Kari Morrissey blew it up, as even though they said repeatedly, there are no actual standards, there's no test, there's no evaluation, there's no certificate, there's no nothing that you need to do in order to legally say, I'm an armorer. But yet Kari Morrissey convinced the jury as well as everybody else. Oh, abso-fucking-lutely, that's what Hannah's role was. In order to be an armorer, yes, I do believe that there should be these legal requirements, and there should be courses that you absolutely have to take, and those courses should be regulated, and they should have all, like, this curriculum and safety and all this stuff and different kinds of guns and all this shit, okay? And you need to learn about a bunch of stuff, all the accidental things and everything, okay? That's my opinion. But that's not what it is. That's not what's in place. So I feel like holding somebody to a standard of something that what we think it should be, when it ain't that, and then, like, putting them in jail because you think that it should be something it isn't and it wasn't, that just didn't sit right with me. But whatever. Okay, so I did look it up yesterday. She has actually been in jail for 3 months now. And I think it would be really, really great if Judge Summers says, you know what? Now that I realized that there was a Brady violation, I had to dismiss Alec Baldwin's case. I know for a fact that that was a corrupt prosecution, a corrupt investigation, a corrupt investigator, corrupt crime scene technician. All of them need to be losing those jobs. Go find something else to do. In my opinion. But, you know, if Hannah serves her full 18 months, I think that she would be getting out of jail in, like, I could be off a little bit, but like August, September of like 2026. Is that right? All right, so it was like April of 2024. So April of 2025 would make 1 year. And then April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So October of 2025 would be when she would be out if she served the whole full time. I mean, I don't know. At this point, it just seems like, how can you leave that girl in jail? How can you allow this girl to continue? Like, I feel like 3 months is enough. 3 months, finding out that the prosecutor's corrupt and literally suppressed evidence. Oh, there is one possibility. Alita said Bowles, Hannah's lawyer, he knew about the Troy said, you know, Hannah's lawyer didn't want it, as if like he didn't think it was going to help her case. And they were saying Hague report. I think Hague was the name of the guy who had the report. And there was a third report that he gave that did reveal that the bullets that came from Troy Teskey may have looked like the live rounds, or like, I could be forgetting the exact details, but basically there was this third report that Bowles may not have had, and that report may have indicated something in favor for Hannah. And so Judge Sumner was saying, in order for a Brady violation, for the requirements to be met, there has to be intentional suppression of evidence. That evidence has to have potential to, you know, be exculpatory, meaning it could help. It could be to impeach somebody. It could be to show there was a bad investigation. It could be to that evidence itself could actually exonerate somebody. You know, like what Erlinda Johnson said was, it could potentially show that Hannah Gutierrez did a great job, but there was sabotage. Maybe she was doing the right job, but there was some unknown influence that got those live rounds in there. Maybe it was total incompetence, but maybe we'll really never know. But again, like, putting somebody in jail for something when there's reasonable doubt and you don't really know, and then the prosecutors are suppressing evidence and deciding, like the prosecutor, Kari Morrissey, had so much arrogance that she literally decided that she gets to decide. She gets to be the judge and the jury and the prosecutor, and that is corruption. So I do believe that in this case, Alec getting dismissed with prejudice, meaning charges are dropped, double jeopardy was attached, you can never recharge him again. However, he does have civil cases, and he may have to pay money. He may end up having to pay money, but he will not have to go to jail. He will never have to face the possibility of going to jail for Helena Hutchins' death. And I think that that's a good thing, because I don't think there was anything positive that would have come. Putting a man in jail for a total accident, that is not justice, in my opinion. Oh my gosh, so now I'm like, of course I'm exhausted because it's after 2. Let me put this up here. So I think that's all I have to say about Rust. And what was that other case I was going to talk about? Oh, Karen Reed. Oh God. Yeah, well, the Commonwealth wrote back to the defense motion asking to dismiss counts 1 and 3, saying that the jury was unanimous, not guilty. And my thoughts were, bitch, the party is over. Y'all had your chance. You had your deliberations. You came back saying, no, we are deeply divided. We cannot. Deliberating any further is futile. We are deeply divided on the charges with an S. So what you talking about, Willis? What you talking about now? Now you want to come out and say some other after the fact shit? Because that's not what you said. That's not what you said. Then the defense want to say, we didn't have no time. What are you talking about? You didn't have no time. You sat there for 10 minutes or whatever, 5 minutes, talking about, I got vacation. I can't do this day. I can't do that day. I can't do this and nothing. You never once said, well, hold up. Wait a second. Before we hit the calendars, can we talk? No, you didn't want to talk because you thought hung jury is way fucking better. Y'all's was terrified that she was going to get a guilty on any of those charges. So why would you push? You're hung? Hung jury? Snap, snap. Hung jury means she gets to walk out of here. Because any other possibility of guilty on any of those charges meant what? Maybe we're going to get some impact statements about how fucking impacted everybody is, about how John is no longer here. Are they going to talk about how Karen Reed impacted them and how her behavior was so vile, so heinous, so heartless? So no, they were not curious. They didn't want to know because for them it was a win, which they said when they walked out. They walked out saying, this is a win. Now you want to turn around and say something different? It doesn't fly for me. So, I don't know. I don't know what Judge Canoni will say. Because I feel like, why would she? Oh, God, I'm tired.
At lovedreamingpeach.com. At lovedreamingpeach.com.